Hi everyone, it's Rebecca, the Colorful Booknester. And I know you haven't seen this face for a little while, but I do have a book that I wanted to discuss today. It is another NetGalley ARC review that I was provided by NetGalley, and it is The Great Mrs. and I'm going to say Elias. I'm not sure if that is how you say it, but that's how I'm saying it. This is a historical fiction, but with a bit of a twist in that it is based on actual events. And the great Miss Elias, or Hannah Elias, is a real person. So there's some challenges with that. This is an excellent book for anybody who's interested in knowing what was going on in the grand old New York City around 1903-04, and it is a fascinating time period. So if you're interested in that at all, you need to be paying attention to this. So the story is based on real characters. In fact, almost every character that you meet is a real person in this book, beginning with the corpse. Yeah, so this all centers around the murder of a very famous New Yorker. In fact, he's a New Yorker that was attributed with quite a lot of the most significant and I would say still relevant aspects of New York City. And by relevancy, I mean people come to New York City to see these things that this man actually he didn't build them himself, but he was the father of New York. He had these ideas, these dreams, and then he coordinated the wealth of the city and the exuberance of the city, and he made these things happen. Things like Central Park, things like the Metropolitan Opera, the Met, and he also coordinated even the coming together of the 5 boroughs into one city. And all of this happening in 1900, 1903, 1904. And it's his murder that ends up in this sensational tabloid story that centers around the great Mrs. Elias, who is Hannah Elias, who is a prostitute in general. She's like that next step up. She's basically, pretty soon, she is running brothels and boarding houses and things. She is with the creme de la creme as far as who her clientele is of Manhattan at the time, or of New York City at the time. You run into so many historical figures, from J.P. Morgan all over the place to even J.P. Morgan's librarian makes a scene in this book. Now, I don't want to give a whole lot because it is about, they do, it is centered around her. However, I have to say that between the city, the timing, the amazing things that were being created, and kind of a fun time right now with lots and lots of money flowing, both legally and illegally. So some warnings. First of all, you got to understand, it is around 1900 New York City. If you want to learn so many interesting details, particularly about the subway, this is going to be a great book for that. However, it is based on the fact she is a prostitute. So yes, there's some sexual talk in here. There isn't a lot about the liaisons themselves as far as action that way. It's more about the relationships and what she gleaned from them, the knowledge, because she is running with really, really high, Wall Street guys and captains of industry, kind of thing. When the murder happens, this individual is killed by somebody who says he's doing it for her. And this was true. So the story is fascinating, just absolutely fascinating, and makes you want to read more. However, I will say the way it's written is a little bit of a downer for me. And the reason why I say that is because I actually almost wish this had been a nonfiction. I wish that had been more the focus, because there's so many characters that the author did put together with Hannah. But some were very loose threads and some not even at all. In fact, her love of her life, it's questionable if that was ever really truly a part of her story. But it was happening at the same time. You know, the father of New York is murdered. I just think that it could have made an amazing, interesting nonfiction. You know, the authors, which has done amazing research, I have to say. Oh my gosh. Kudos to her for the research, the knowledge, the pairing things together. Absolutely brilliant in that aspect. I just didn't feel a whole lot even for Hannah. I mean, as far as who she really was, because I didn't feel, for me, thinking about what it would have taken this woman to do what she did, I don't know if she was correctly portrayed. And I think that's always a weakness with historical fiction, that you're following true people, real people. There's only so much, and I've said this in previous videos, there's only so much you can fictionalize somebody who really did exist and really flesh it out, because you kind of have to be respectful that you don't know. And I think it makes for a little bit of a stale characters. Now, Hannah's not stale. Reading about her is fascinating, but again, I think it would have been a great as a more of a nonfiction. Will it be picked up by as many people? Probably not. I think that if you picked it up, if you're interested in this era at all, if you're interested to say, hey, am I interested in this era? What was going on in 1900, early 1900s in New York City? I think you'd be very surprised by the amazing things that were, you know, the creation of Central Park, which is still something that everybody goes to. The library with the two lions in front of it by Bryant Park. This all happened at this time. The subway was put in, and it was, you know, they were attempting to do things that had never been done with the subway. And the fact that all of those boroughs were now brought together under one. Brooklyn didn't want to go, just letting you know, Brooklyn wanted to stay on its own. But fascinating things. If you read historical fiction so that you run down rabbit trails, this is the book for you. I'm telling you, it is. You will go down every name that you come across and go, was he real? Was he real? I mean, it was one of those moments that the aha moment for me to go, oh my gosh, this is based on a real story. It was not that I got that from the book jacket and from the blurb whenever I requested it. Instead, it was when you talk about this gentleman, Mr. Green, who gets murdered, and then they keep calling him the father of New York. I said, you can't do that. Who is this guy? And then I went out and went, oh my gosh, this is all real. And it just made a whole different level. And I am not one to read tabloids nowadays. I don't like any of those stories or anything. I like distilled tabloid stories. And distilled meaning after years and years and years, was this still true? You know, did they really find aliens in the bathtub of Cindy Crawford? You know, years and years later, if that were true, we would really know it was a true story and it wasn't just a tabloid. In this case, yes, it's true. It was in all the newspapers at the time, and it is based on all these people, and you know it's tested it's made it through the test of time. So I actually recommend this highly. I think it being a fictional storyline for someone like me there was just some things about how some of the characters acted and reacted and the things they said, and that I was just like, oh, I'm not sure, but I was fascinated to know what happened. I was fascinated to know what she did. There's one thing, and it's a twist at the end, and I still haven't went out to find out if that really happened or not. But I will. Because that's what good historical fiction does. It makes you question and go, did this really happen? And what is real and what isn't? And I tell you what, this story is so juicy on its own. It's amazing. So it comes out actually Tuesday, February 8th. I'm not sure when you're going to be seeing this video, but it is well worth it. It is, and I would really recommend to anybody who likes that era, that time, and wants to know more about New York City. It's just fabulous. It really is. So, but if you're not interested in that, probably something to pass. I always say that, don't I? I always do. So anyway, that's it for me. I'm so glad that I was able to be given the opportunity to read this book, thank you very much. It'll be one that if anyone wants to talk about once they've read it, please let me know. I would love to do some discussions about what you read, and even as you're reading, if you want to be able to reach out to me, feel free to do so. You can do it through Goodreads, which I have listed all the time, of course, or even through my channel here. So I hope you enjoy yourselves reading it. If you do decide to pick it up, again, coming out February 8th of 2022. Highly recommend for a good historical fiction about New York City. And oh my gosh, 1903, 1904. It was amazing what was going on over there. Just amazing. So that's it for me. Bye for now. Keep turning those pages.